we shouldn't be afraid of not getting things right. We get feedback sometimes to the occasion who says, I'd love to bring my kids. I think Virgin Red is a great part of our future, but we got to find a way to make it more compelling. And I'm sure you get some of this feedback too, Billy.
Stop sending emails.
Yeah,
I got the message.
Yeah,
it's fine.
it's good. I love emails. But,
Virgin Voyages, the kid-free cruise line, has turned heads since they started sailing several years ago. But what have they learned along the way? And what's next in their journey? While touring Brilliant Lady, their newest ship, we were fortunate enough to sit down with Virgin Voyages CEO and ask him about the journey and what's ahead. Nirmal, can I call you that?
Yes, of course.
I'll confess, many practices, and I'm still very nervous about saying your last name. I appreciate you taking the time.
Kind of like Madonna.
I like that.
Yeah.
Let's own it. Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me as not only someone that likes to share with other fans and soon to be, I'm sure, fans of Virgin, but also just as a passionate sailor.
Oh, well, thank you. We love having you on board, and I think it's 14 sailings now. I think
indeed,
said, right?
indeed. I look forward to 15, 16, and beyond.
Yeah. You know, one thing that's magical about our brand, and I'm sure you feel the same way too, is every time I talk to some of our loyal sailors, like you, Billy, I feel like we built this brand together with you, a lot of you. You know, what we see on Brilliant Lady today, you know, the brand is a reflection of all the feedback we've had from our crew and particularly our sailors. And, you know, I tell this story to our crew about how, you know, why are we here? And we're here because we're building a great company together. And we can all look back in our careers and say, I was part of doing that. I could lay my brick in the foundation of this great company. And what's really wonderful to me and fills me with so much pride is that every time I get to talk to a sailor or I get to talk to someone like you, I feel like you guys feel the same way too, in that you really helped shape this brand and you feel like you are nurturing this brand and building this brand together with us. And that's really, really special. And I see it in the passion you.
That's a very nice way of saying, please stop emailing us.
Absolutely. I love the emails. You know what, honestly, I think sometimes brands are always afraid to admit they might not get something right or to admit that maybe they've missed something. And, you know, I think one of the learnings I've had from Richard along the years is you should never be too afraid to say, maybe we didn't get that point right, or maybe we haven't thought about something. And so you should always be open to feedback. You know, when I go around the ships, I always have a little notebook. I write things down, and it drives our teams insane.
Listen, genuinely, and this kind of gets into one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Genuinely, I appreciate that while feedback throughout the cruise industry is candidly something that I think everyone does a good job of focusing on, Virgin's really leaned into that and done a powerful job. I mean, even in the middle of a voyage, just, you know, a non-obtrusive little pop-ups asking, hey, how was this?
Yes.
What do you think? Let us know if you have feedback. And I love that. And I love that I've watched, to your point, over the last 5 years, more than that, I've watched it get folded in, right? Watch feedback get folded in. And that's been great. So as you've taken so much feedback and you've implemented so much feedback, and you of course want, maybe not exactly people like me, but you want repeat sailors, right? You also want the new to cruise, right? Only about 15% of North American market, I think, is cruised, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So you want that, but do you feel that there's a risk in taking feedback often from folks who've already cruised, who already have a perception of what cruising is, should be, the way that they like to cruise, and there's no wrong way, right? Because there's a lot of options out there, which I appreciate. What do you think about the risk that could result in a product that becomes not the rebellious luxe that is Virgin and all Virgin's brands, but just kind of an average of what is out there on the market?
Look, I think you make a very good point up. Not every piece of feedback we get is feedback we agree with, right? I think we're always open to the feedback, but we do have some North Stars, right? You know, one of the great things about us is, and having the Virgin brand available to us, is that the Virgin brand is a North Star, right? And we've created Virgin Voyages with some very simple North Stars, right? No kids, right? Yes, we get feedback sometimes to the occasion where they say, so I'd love to bring my kids. And then we say, well, that's great. Bring them when they're 18. You know, we get the occasional piece of feedback around, you know, maybe people want a different kind of dining concept. So they want a more traditional set menu, an example, right? Those are the kind of things that we haven't really explored doing, because ultimately we have North Stars, right? No kids, no buffets, no big dining halls, made to order food, no dress codes, no stuffy formalities on board. not looking nickel and dime everybody, creating service that feels a bit more human, a bit more youthful, right? Those are our North Stars. And as we get our feedback, we are working on how to tweak those North Stars. Now, one of the places where I think we have evolved the brand a lot and have had really good feedback is entertainment. And if you've probably seen, that's probably the most evolution we've had as a brand from when we launched. Because when we launched, I think our service was really good when we launched. I mean, I'm so proud of our crew, and I hope you ask me about our crew later, because I can talk for hours about our crew. But they are the secret sauce here, as you know, right? The food has always been remarkable, and we're so lucky to be blessed with the culinary stuff that we do. A lot of that also is the way we built the ship. So we built the ship to do nothing but made to water food. But entertainment was one of those places where, I got to be honest with you, I don't know if we got that right at the beginning. And you were trying to find what was the right take on entertainment for us, because we didn't have a really good North Star. We wanted stuff that was a little bit off Broadway, a little bit different. We were definitely focused on making sure we never licensed a show. We always wanted to create our own shows, and that very much is a North Star still for us, right? The ambition is always, we create experiences that we believe our sailors want, right? And we create original productions with the hope that eventually they can get licensed to actually play in land-based theaters. I'm very proud of Dual Reality, because Dual Reality is the only show ever to create for a cruise ship.
So the other direction.
And what's great about Brilliant Lady is that I actually think on Brilliant Lady, we've got a couple here that actually have the potential to do it as well. We've already had some approaches with people about actually getting these shows like cool. Murder in the Manor or Up with a Twist across into a land-based theater of some sort. But we struggle to find our voice in that, because a lot of the feedback we got, you're right, was maybe the wrong feedback in some ways. A lot of people said, make it not so edgy, as an example, right? And edgy is such a loaded word. Like, what does that even mean, right? And we probably overreacted a little bit, candidly. But I think with Brilliant Lady, and even with Resilient Lady, I think we've got that formula right? Where we found the right balance of what an adult entertainment program should look like, right? It's funny, it's witty, it plays on nostalgia. It does push you a little bit out of your comfort zone, but doesn't push you so far that it becomes foreign or weird or something that makes you feel uncomfortable. And that's what I'm probably most proud of, is being able to find that balance with entertainment. But you should know, and your audience should know, this brand has become famous for what the experience is. And the last thing that I want to do is to make changes that undercut what has made the brand special. So, what does that mean? Well, it means that we'll continue investing in our product. We'll continue investing in food. We'll continue investing in entertainment. We'll continue investing in our crew. And we won't look to become generic like everybody else. We're not going to start licensing shows like everybody else. We're not going to water down the quality of the menus and push you out of your comfort zone, but maybe have you have crickets in your margarita as an example, right? Those are things that make this brand interesting and special. And I'm very focused on maintaining that. So rest assured.
I thought the crickets were interesting. I did not try them. I will try a lot of foods, bugs. That's my one.
Yeah, try them.
But I'm glad that they're there.
They're there, exactly, right? Because look, it's our job to make sure that we continue to keep pushing and keep innovating. And we shouldn't be afraid of not getting things right? So to your point about the feedback, it's okay that we get the feedback, right? But I'm not going to agree with every piece of feedback. But it's important to hear that, right? Because if you hear from enough people, then it's something you need to work on, right? You hear from one or two comments. Of course, you're getting one or two comments here and there.
So I like what you said about sticking with the North Stars, right? And even if you change, you follow those North Stars and you stay true to what you're looking to do. And it seems I certainly don't know enough to claim that all or multiple Virgin brands have the same North Star, but there are some commonalities within the branding, and you know very well, your experience precedes Virgin Voyages within the Virgin portfolio. Something, and I hope you don't take this as a he's trying to get me, or was he trying to get at? This is a genuine curiosity that I've had. Virgin is such a strong brand across a number of industries, especially travel, tourism, hospitality. And I'll admit, maybe a little more so in the UK with and Australia with travel and tourism. Other than some Virgin Red points offers, I've not really seen any brand synergies. I know they operate as different companies. I get that. There are different investors. There's also, but when there's such a je ne sais quoi to the Virgin brands, I've been surprised that I just took a Virgin Atlantic flight a couple weeks ago. I'm surprised I can't take that Virgin Atlantic flight, stay at the Virgin Hotel in London, take a Virgin Voyages sailing, all of a sudden got tongue-tied, return on that Virgin
Yeah.
Atlantic flight, or especially the opposite. And maybe, listen, maybe that's the opportunity. If I'm not mistaken, keep me honest. We're working. I'm really working hard on this.
You've been building brand with us. We talked about
Yes.
this.
Working on a Virgin hotel in Miami.
Yes.
So I think, okay, well, maybe Brits who really like travel packages, vacation packages, and are really familiar with the brand. Okay, Virgin Atlantic across, stay at Virgin Hotel Miami, sail Virgin Voyages. Why haven't we seen that as a thing?
It's a great question, and it is something that we absolutely do need to fix. Because you're right, when a customer comes to us, they expect a unified Virgin experience. The great thing is the way we've built the brands culturally is very similar. They all have very similar cultures. You get the same kind of feeling from all the different brands, and that's a testament to the way that Richard has set up all the companies and the influences he's had culturally on all of the businesses. Now, in the background, we do share a lot of things. So forget customers for a moment. We share a lot of things around best practices around people policies. We share best practices around customer service. Our CMOs get together routinely and talk about different ways of communicating the brand, other ways of positioning the brand. So we do a lot of kind of company synergy thing. The piece that we haven't unlocked yet, and I do think it is a failing on our part, is unlocking a true red thread that makes that sailor you talked about feel that same set of loyalty and recognition. And recognition is the important word, I believe, across the different parts of the Virgin family. Now, there is a program called Virgin Red, which we've all started to embrace. And Virgin Red, the idea with Virgin Red is to create that red thread so that you can get recognized when you're on a Virgin voyage because you happen to be a Virgin Atlantic customer or staying in a Virgin hotel. But we have struggled to make all that work, candidly. And even Virgin Red, we've had some feedback from sailors, and I'm sure you get some of this feedback too, Billy.
Stop sending emails. I got the message. It's fine.
No, it's good. I love emails. But it's how compelling is Virgin Red as an opportunity, right? I think Virgin Red is a great part of our future, but we got to find a way to make it more compelling for people, right? Because right now, when you talk about Virgin Voyages, it's a lot of points to convert a Virgin Red set of points into Virgin Voyages, and that math doesn't really work. And I sometimes think that, when companies get together and try to make this work, sometimes the financials get in the way of what really should be the customer, right? And we make the customer's problem our problem. Like we make our problem our problem to make it the customer, right? And we really should be, what's the customer problem we're trying to solve? And the customer problem we should be solving is making sure that you do feel that recognition across the brands. And you do feel like if you're a VIP customer like you are for us, that you get that same level of recognition from Virgin Atlantic or Virgin Hotels. And there's a red thread, so that if you are traveling across the brands, we recognize it and appreciate it, because those are little touches that turn something from an ordinary experience into an extraordinary experience. And that's what we should be doing. So watch this space, because it's something that Richard and I are talking about a lot. We're talking to Virgin Group about it a lot. I do think it is Virgin Red, but I don't think we found the right way to do it yet for Virgin Red. But I think that is the platform to do it. I welcome your opinion, I welcome your feedback, but I think it is the right platform.
I'm already imagining the Google Doc I'll be sending you.
Okay, I love it.
But I'm genuinely glad to hear that as a sailor and consumer.
Right. It's really important, and it's important that our sailors feel like they get their reward for it.
A bit of feedback that I get a lot, people leaving in comments, friends and family that come on Virgin that are excited and love the experience, but something that it seems like there's a little struggle with, and I'll admit it's not only a Virgin problem, but can Virgin solve it where others can't? We all love dining on board, right? There are so many options. They're good. It's all included. Excellent. Reservations have been a struggle, right? I know there's been a new app. You changed how many reservations were held back. Personally, I rarely make reservations when it's just a couple of us. I wing it. I'm flexible. I know I'm going to be back. I've been on before. I'm okay with that. For others, that's not the way, and I get that, right? So I'm wondering, what are the considerations in relieving that kind of pain point? Because it seems like we're in this cycle. Royal Caribbean, I'll mention another line for a moment. Royal Caribbean now has I think it's a $10 no-show fee, right? I'm sailing Princess in just a couple weeks. They have a problem where if you have Princess Plus, which is their kind of all-inclusive option, good luck. So many people have that. Good luck making a reservation, right? It becomes a problem. So I worry that across the industry, there's this challenge of reservations are available. Look, we made this an option, and we have apps now. Reservations are available. So everyone thinks they're necessary. So everyone books them.
Yes.
So then there's a shortage. So then they kind of become necessary. And
Yeah.
and maybe you don't have the answer right now, and that's okay. But I'm just wondering what your thoughts are around that.
So look, first thing I'd say to all of your viewers, dining on Virgin Voyages should not be the Hunger Games. And sometimes I do feel like people who come to us feel like they have to fight tooth and nail to eat. You will not go hungry on a Virgin voyage, I promise you that. And the reason I say that, and I know
I can co-sign that at least.
Yes, the reason I know that is that when you actually just do the maths, right, on how many seats are available to dine in all our restaurants, there's roughly 200 seats in our 6 main restaurants, right? Obviously, not including the galley, not including the dock and the pizza. There's other places to eat, but across the 6 main restaurants are about 200 seats.
Okay.
And so if you say that, so 200 seats and you times it by 6, that's 1,200, and you turn the tables 2.5 times, right? You have plenty of seats to cover 2,500 people, right? That's the math that we know is the math of what's available. But what we've struggled to do is to surface that inventory in a way that's digestible by the audiences, right? So where we get a lot of trouble is, and I'm sure your audience has seen this, is sometimes you see the restaurant will be full, but in reality, it's actually quite empty. You'll see it's full on the app, and you'll go and eat, and there's empty tables everywhere. Why is that? It's because we need to work through some of the configuration settings. So oftentimes the way that our dining works is that we will set up the dining with a 4-top as an example. And so the 4-top could be available, but the 2-top says it's unavailable because it thinks that this table I'm sitting at should be only inventoried as a 4 versus inventoried as 2 2s. We actually have the most flexible dining on any cruise ship, believe it or not. If you go around and look at the restaurants, there are more 2-top tables in our restaurants than any other ship around. But what happens is when the system configures them, they configure them together, and so we're working on fixing that, because the reality is there are plenty of seats, but we don't surface them the right way. We're also looking at surfacing more pre-voyage. Now, that also is a bit of a slippery slope, because we don't want people to get overly programmed. We want them to relax. We want them to have a great voyage. We don't have to think about what am I dining on day 10 on my voyage, right? I don't even know what I'm going to do on day 10 on my voyage, let alone what am I going to eat, right? So we're trying to make sure we get that flexibility in and give people that option. But what I want to start people off, reassure us, is that there are plenty of seats. Now, I don't know the configurations of the other cruise lines you mentioned, right? But for our ships, there are plenty of seats. Our systems don't do a good enough job of allocating those and making them available to you in advance, which is why walk-ins always work.
And that's fair. I mean, because something that I've wondered before is what are those ratios like, right? If we look up market, Oceania, for example, yes, they have all included dining across all their restaurants. They probably have capacity in 2 or 3 of those to accommodate everyone at the same time at one sitting, you know. So, and you can't have quite that here, but it's interesting to hear that, okay, the capacity is there. There's just adjustments that
in terms of how we surface it. Look, and there are some adjustments of, some people want to dine early, some people want to dine late. I do think we need to do a better job of providing entertainment at the right time so that we counter program appropriately.
To kind of force a flow. Not
so
everyone's showing up at 7:30.
So that people have an option, right? So that they have an option.
That makes sense.
And what we've done with our shows is that we actually have moved to a more fixed show times now. So our main production shows in the Red Room typically are at 7 or 7:30 and 10 o'clock. So again, to give people more certainty of what those look like so they can plan their dining. Because oftentimes what I also hear feedback on is, I really want to plan my dining, but I also want to know when the show is. And typically it's hard to know when the show is to get to the ship.
Even as a very frequent sailor, I feel that.
Correct. So I think as we provide more consistency now in the programming, give a bit more surfacing of that more a little bit clearer to people, it'll make the whole dining issue feel a lot more manageable than currently is. But the last thing I want any of your audience to feel is that they won't get to eat. You will get to eat. There are plenty of seats in all of those 6 restaurants. And yes, if you dine at Test Kitchen, the pizza place is available afterwards in case there's not enough food there.
I appreciate your candor. Pizza place is always good for a second dinner too.
Exactly.
I'm gonna overstay my welcome as we're getting the high sign and ask you one very rapid last question, a real last question.
Sure.
Ready? I'm confident that in a Google Doc or a Notion Doc or a whiteboard or napkin, somewhere in your home plantation office, there's a list of things that it's like, oh, how can we figure this out? What's on your list that's been on there for a while? You go, I want to crack this nut. I want to crack this nut. Maybe it's a personal thing that isn't a company brand priority, but you're like, wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be a really wonderful experience? What's that thing?
It's probably 2 things. Good thing is 2 things, because we just talked about one of them, which is dining. I do think dining is something we need to work out ourselves. The second one is fitness classes. I would like more people to have opportunity to try fitness classes. Fitness classes, we have a similar issue where people book the fitness classes, but they don't show up.
Yes.
And so people always think it's sold out when it's really not.
As somebody who likes watching the bungee classes,
Yeah.
I would applaud more of those because
So
it's a
I would love
sport.
us to find a way to get more fitness classes and have more availability for people, because I do think it's an important part of our brand is being able to take care of yourself. Fitness, I think, is something that's very important to me, very important to Richard, and we need to give people more opportunities for that. And I think you'd agree with me. You probably haven't perfected the availability of our fitness classes and the way to book them.
Somewhat similar challenge.
It's a very similar challenge, yeah. I think so once we solve those two things, I feel like we're in place. Entertainment has always been something that's been on my list of making sure we can perfect entertainment. I do think that with Brilliant Lady, we've done that. If you look at the shows on board, obviously you haven't sailed yet, but when you do sail, 7 new shows on board this ship. The reviews that we're getting are amazing for these shows. The 2 Mana shows, Murder in the Mana and Up with a Twist, phenomenal new productions that have the potential to be licensed to go to land, and we've already had some feedback on that. Our Red Room production shows are incredible, so I think we've dialed in entertainment now, and I'm really excited for you to see it.
I look very forward to seeing it and sending you many emails about my thoughts.
I welcome all the emails, but if you ask me to bring kids on board, that's definitely
I don't have kids, not a problem.
But we're in a good place.
I'll say it only because we're talking about Virgin. I had a vasectomy; it was cheaper than kids, so. I'm
gonna no comment on that one.
I sincerely appreciate your time today.
Thank you, really.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being a loyal sailor.
It's the least I can do. A very big thanks to Nirmal and the entire team at Virgin Voyages for making that happen. We look forward to future conversations, and when those happen, we'll bring them to you. Fortunately, we have a lot of videos on Virgin Voyages and more to come, I promise. We've got another sailing coming up in just a few weeks, so be sure to like, subscribe, ring that bell so that you can check out those videos and more, and check out our sponsors who help make this content possible.